What's good everyone, it's boy Yidzig, 4 eyes, 2 G's here, and today we're here to talk about 6ix9ine, who recently went on an interview with Logan Paul on the Impaulsive podcast, and the fact that 6ix9ine had to go to Logan Paul of all people just to get an interview and just to get some media probably says enough about the state of his career. But in this interview, he kind of did the normal 6ix9ine interview shtick where he just says a lot, confidently, loudly, and controls the interview, but really when you break down what he actually says, it's just lies and so fabricated. And I'm going to break down some of the biggest ones in this interview today, so let's get into it.
When the moonlight shining, yeah, that's when I'm lurking. Gotta roll me up a fat one cause I'm stressing. I be looking at the stars and yeah, I'm vibing. Thinking why these people hating, not supporting. It's alright cause they never give me a damn thing. Smoking sour things louder than the engine.
Okay, so the first one is in relation to Big Sean's numbers. As most of you guys would know, Big Sean just dropped Detroit 2 on the same day that Tekashi dropped TattleTales, so they're kind of going head-to-head sales numbers wise, with Big Sean actually coming out on top by a long stretch. But this is what 6ix9ine had to say in this interview.
How many plays it has?
So you obviously outstreamed the fuck out of him, right?
What do you think is the biggest song? That Post Malone record
Probably the Post-
or Gooba? Gooba has over 200 million streams. They're not even counting it.
Right.
So it's like, how can we cheat 6ix9ine out of a number one?
So as you can see right there, in 6ix9ine's own words, he felt cheated out of the number one spot, acting as if somehow TattleTales deserved to be number one more than Big Sean's album, suggesting that his album got streamed or sold more than Sean's. Well, let's just really break this down. First of all, if you just go off the US chart preview right here, it's really obvious that off the rip, 6ix9ine is getting destroyed by Big Sean. And keep in mind, these numbers are not inclusive of merch bundles, which he clarified in the interview also. So even if you just look at these numbers, it's pretty clear that Big Sean is probably outstreaming 6ix9ine, you would guess at least 2-3 times over. But let's just delve a little bit deeper. Right here, I've gone through the Spotify charts, the Apple Music charts, and the iTunes charts from the recent data I have access to, and we're going to compare them head to head. So as you can see right here, we have the Spotify US Daily Top 200 charts from the 7th of September. On this one, 6ix9ine had 0 songs. Yes, 0 songs in the Spotify Top 200 charts. That means for every single song that was on TattleTales in the US market, not one of them was in the top 200 most streamed songs on Spotify. And that just really shows how little people are streaming his album if he doesn't even have one on there, especially considering it's a week of its release. Big Sean, on the other hand, as you can see right here, had 5. Let's move on to the Apple Music chart right here. Now, as you can see right here, on the 9th of September, out of the top 1,362 songs on the Apple Music charts, 6ix9ine had 9 of them, with the first song appearing at 171, and that is super important to note. Then Big Sean, on the other hand, had 20 songs, which is every single song off of his album except for the interlude, which basically doesn't count, and the first song of his appeared at number 14, plus on top of this, 16 songs of his appeared on the charts before you even got to the first 6ix9ine song at 171, which again just goes to show people are just not streaming 6ix9ine's album like that. Then lastly, let's follow it up with these iTunes numbers right here, and it's the exact same story. As you can see right here, out of the top 1,500 songs for the US market, also that's important to say, this was for the US market as well, as was the Spotify one over here, 6ix9ine only has 3 songs, and the first song appears at 282. Big Sean, on the other hand, has 13 songs, with the first song appearing at 45, and then he has 6 songs appear in the chart before 6ix9ine even gets one at 282. So yeah, first lie and first fabrication from 6ix9ine that he's been cheated out of a number one, acting as if he's beating Big Sean or even close to Big Sean in streaming numbers. And as you can see right here, on the 2 major streaming services, Big Sean is demolishing 6ix9ine streaming numbers wise. Okay, after the Big Sean comments, the next ones we have to address are his comments about Tootsie Slide, and I almost couldn't believe it when I heard him say this, because according to him, Gooba in its first week outstreamed, yes, he said that again, outstreamed Tootsie Slide in its first week. Yeah, here's what he had to say.
Do you think
All right. Matter of fact, what was the bigger record? Gooba or when Tootsie Slide released?
It depends on what the metric is for success. Do you look at YouTube numbers and streams?
No, streams.
So if that's the biggest metric, then did Gooba stream more than Tootsie Slide?
Yes, first week.
And I almost couldn't believe that he actually said this, but I've gone out and dug up the Spotify global numbers comparing the first week streaming numbers for both Tootsie Slide and Gooba, and really they're not surprising. As you can see on screen right here, I've put the numbers head to head every single day across the first week, and Tootsie Slide unsurprisingly comes out on top by a fair margin, streaming over 50% more more than Goober. And granted, this is just on Spotify and we don't know about Apple Music or Tidal or anything like that, but it's pretty safe to assume if this was a type of margin that happened on Spotify, it would have been pretty similar numbers, or 2C Slide at the very least would have beaten him out on other streaming services as well. So that's another lie and another fabrication right there. Now, next after this, we need to talk about his comments about Trippie Redd, which 6ix9ine had this to say.
Right.
Trippie's album is, we're signed to the same label. They're holding off his album because he doesn't have a single and he sucks. Like, literally sucks. Like, this kid sucks. What was the last record Trippie put out?
Topanga.
I like the Topanga song. I'm
That
not gonna lie.
That was before I went to jail. Yeah, that was before I went to jail. You just gave me a record that released in 2018. No, it's just the fact that he thinks he has something, and I won't address him because he's such a fucking nuisance to society. It's like you're literally a flop, right? So I have nothing to say for somebody who I blew past.
And the lack of self-awareness for 6ix9ine to be calling Trippie Redd a flop right now is crazy. So as you can see on screen right here, we've actually got the album sales for both of them over the course of their career. And it's pretty clear off the bat, just comparing the two's album sales head to head, Trippie Redd has beaten out 6ix9ine on literally every single album except for !, and by a fair margin as well. Let's assume best case scenario, TattleTales sells 65k, which is the highest amount it's projected to right now. Except for !, Trippie Redd has beaten that on every single album of his comfortably. Plus, with 6ix9ine calling Trippie Redd a flop as of this moment, A Love Letter to You just sold 104k, which was released in December of 2019 and was his last project. So that's the last gauge of sales we actually have for a proper project from Trippie. So if on that project Trippie Redd sold 104k and right now 6ix9ine can't even sell 70k, it's pretty clear who's the quote-unquote flop and who's really winning out of the two's long-going feud, and that's Trippie Redd. Plus, 6ix9ine was trying to say that Trippie had fell off because Topanga was his last actual hit, and that just isn't true at all. Death with the Baby has over 100 million streams on Spotify alone and got certified gold, and whilst I wouldn't say that's like a massive career-defining hit, it was definitely a hit. But to be fair, it is a fair point to make that Trippie's current album rollout with Pegasus is pretty fucked with the whole leaking situation, and none of his recent singles have become hits, but yeah, to call him an outright flop and act as if he's fallen off just isn't true at all, based on everything I just showed you right there. Plus, let's just be completely honest, comparing album to album and just comparing their musical output over the course of their careers, Trippie Redd wins by a long shot, and that's not even arguable. So yeah, kind of getting back to the Logan Paul interview, as I said, this was pretty much a standard 6ix9ine interview affair. He spoke loudly, he controlled the whole interview by just speaking over other people, and lastly and most importantly, he was fabricating numbers and he was just lying again and again, which we've seen him do all the time in his interviews, so it's not surprising. But in another sense, it's just kind of frustrating because people just kind of believe what he says in these interviews because he says it so confidently, and because of course these people don't have the stats and the actual numbers on hand, so when he says it so confidently you just kind of agree with him. But just like if you break down some of the things he was talking about in his Breakfast Club interviews, when you really look into it and you really get to the nitty-gritty details, a lot of them are just straight up lies, or secondly it's just a very stretched version of the truth. Plus, as I said, it's actually kind of funny that 6ix9ine was getting blackballed from basically all hip-hop media and nobody was giving him any type of attention, that he had to go to Logan Paul of all people to just get an interview and just get his voice out there to a lot of people. And I think it just shows the state of desperation and the state of his career right now if he has to go to Logan Paul of all people just to get a big name interview. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about the interview, the numbers, etc. You guys know I always want to know. Also guys, before we finish this video, I want to give a couple quick shout outs from the Instagram. Shout out to s.msomo, and also shout out to Pedantic1 for following me over on my IG. Much appreciated, you two. If you guys don't follow your boy, man, go drop your boy a follow and show me some love over there. It's always much appreciated. And also a reminder about the Big Cartel, where we have a couple merch pieces available. If you're interested in some Cardi and some Travis merch pieces, link will be in the description. And as always, thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't, like, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications, all that good YouTube stuff. And there are more videos of mine on screen right now. Make sure to check them out if you haven't.